This Wednesday marks what would have been 100 years since the birth of Nelson Mandela. But despite his death 5 years ago, the changes he made will be felt for generations to come. And among the many whose lives were changed forever is Mandela's former cellmate Archie Sibeko, known as Zola. The first time they set eyes on each other, both were angry young men, behind bars and ready to take up arms to win the freedom of their oppressed people. The last time was 62 years later, meeting as friends in a London hotel room, two old men who had ignited the anti-apartheid campaign in South Africa and set the world alight. In an exclusive interview with the Sunday Mirror, Archie's wife Joyce tells how Mandela inspired her late husband to commit his life to that struggle. Recalling their last meeting as Mandela celebrated his 90th birthday, Joyce said they were two pensioners sitting in a hotel exchanging stories of their lives. Mandela was no longer the strong, tall figure who shared a cell with my husband. Zola was 80. It was amazing to think these two men helped make such a difference. They never imagined there would be freedom in their lifetimes. His election ending one of the 20th century's greatest injustices. It was not a battle fought alone, but a 5-decade war by unions and leaders like Archie, who put their lives on the line. Archie's is an incredible story of enduring love, not only for his countrymen, but also for a white British woman who had the courage to stand alongside him. He was 28 when he and 156 other activists were rounded up in dawn raids for rising up against apartheid in December 1956. A leading member of the African National Congress in Cape Town, Archie was among those facing long prison sentences, alongside Mandela, during the infamous Treason Trials. For more than a year, activists were locked up on trumped-up charges. Joyce, 87, said bringing those activists together was one of the biggest mistakes the government made. It gave them a chance to galvanize and create anti-apartheid policies. At the time, blacks could not travel long distances to meet with other like-minded political figures because they had to produce papers wherever they went. That year was a chance for the ANC and union leaders to form a coalition, and Mandela was at the forefront. They had tried campaigning and peaceful approaches, nothing worked. It was Mandela who helped convince them a new approach was needed, that if blacks were being shot in the back as they ran from white police, it was time to arm themselves. And how ANC President Albert Lutuli instilled discipline within the jail walls. Joyce says they'd get up early, get dressed and sing the South African national anthem. Every day they'd exercise to keep up their strength. Zola was very much impressed by Mandela. He was fiery and seen by his seniors as a bit of a firebrand. He was more militant than most and had to work to convince his elders that more must be done. By 1961, after the trials collapsed, both men were again free. Archie signed up in 1963 for military training near Moscow. The following year, Mandela was jailed for life on the infamous Robben Island. Archie was running arms to South Africa when he met Joyce in 1967 through activist friends in Zambia, where she was doing research for Manchester University. Recalling their first meeting, Joyce smiles. He was an impressive, handsome man who spoke with passion about his cause. He'd been able to leave South Africa underground, but it was harder to get back in. He was carrying arms through Zambia as an MK unit commander. MK, or Mkhonto we Sizwe, Spear of the Nation, was the Yank armed wing. Joyce said, when our friends asked if he could stay with us, we agreed. I knew what he was doing was dangerous, but he was fully committed to the movement. Despite being with her husband, Joyce fell in love, to which her husband turned a blind eye. When they returned home, she says, I wouldn't have asked Zola to come with me. He wasn't a free agent, he was married to the cause. Joyce's marriage broke down, and in 1971 Archie moved to London to work for the Yank. By now a hero of the Liberation Army, Archie traveled the world urging governments to boycott South Africa. At her home in Tynemouth, Tyne and Wear, Joyce grieves for his death in March at the age of 90. She still calls him Zola Zumbrantamba, the fake names he used. Joyce said, I had my career and family here, but Zola wanted to go. Archie traveled between the offices of the Railway Union in Johannesburg, of which he was president, and the Yank in Cape Town, where he was vice chair. It took its toll, and he had a stroke. He returned to Joyce in Manchester, and the couple later moved north to be closer to her daughter Helen. Joyce says Archie had never intended to be an activist. He first experienced racial division when he traveled to buy tools to help his widowed mother farm her land. He was forced to travel in cattle cars for 800 miles. He went looking for office work, but doors were shut on him due to his color until he called at a trade union office. Joyce says they took him in for a cup of tea, and he was astounded when it was served by a white woman. It was a seminal moment. Joyce adds, the legacy he and men like Mandela left behind is incredible. Read more about Archie's life in his book, Freedom in Our Lifetime, costing £10. For copies, email Joyce on zolajoyce@phonacoupe.coop.